So with that, I want to hand it over to Steve, who will introduce Sonny. But thank you for sponsoring tonight. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for providing good jobs on the west side for people. We're really, really honored to stand alongside you. Thank you. Steve just reminded me that I forgot to do something. So everyone has a pad of paper on their table. Sonny has agreed to take some questions from the audience this evening, but we're going to do it the way we always do it at the chamber. If you can write your question down. I know Tyler, Fred, I think Michelle will be walking around to gather your questions, and then we'll get as many of them answered as we can before we wrap up tonight. Thank you.
Well, aloha, everyone. I'm excited tonight to introduce Sonny Beck, CEO of Beck Superior Hybrids, based in Atlanta, Indiana. Sonny has led an incredible growth of this seed company specializing in corn and soybeans, from a local Indiana-based company to a leader in the U.S., being the 5th largest seed company in the U.S. Beck's currently markets in 11 Midwestern states and covers about 2/3 of the corn acres in the U.S. Sonny and his wife Glenda have been involved with the company since 1964 when Sonny graduated from Purdue. He is an icon of this U.S. seed industry, leading various seed organizations such as the American Seed Trade Association, Indiana Crop Improvement Association, Purdue Ag Alumni, and many others. He gives back to the community by being a Purdue trustee and a member of the Purdue Research Foundation board, as well as being very active in the Indiana Chamber of Commerce, where he was the Businessman of the Year in 2016. Sonny's entrepreneurial spirit and natural leadership has led to the company's annual growth of just under 20% per year. Beck's currently has over 600 employees in the Midwest and of course on Kauai. In October of 2016, Beck saw the value in investing in a counter-season operation here on Kauai and seized the opportunity to secure Beck's commitment to developing high-performing hybrids for Midwestern farmers. Beck's has many innovative programs which Sonny will discuss and fits Beck's motto of helping farmers succeed. So please help me in welcoming Sonny Beck.
Hello. Yes, thank you, Chamber, and for inviting me over to speak with you, and thanks to our team on the west side here for helping put all this together. It's really great to be over here and be with you. You know, the first thing I always look at when I see a new speaker up there that I don't know much about is what's his background, where are his biases, where did he come from? Well, let me start by saying that my grandfather, I started on a small farm in Indiana. It's not too far north of Indianapolis. And my grandfather bought this 40-acre farm when he first got married in 1901. So that'd be the first generation. The second generation would have come along with my father, and he, my grandfather, started in hybrid seed corn. This new thing came out in 1937. It was much like many of the inventions that come out today, except these were developed by a land-grant college, Purdue being one of those, that was put out to the public in general at no cost. And so any farmer could come and get their 3 acres worth of this new thing called hybrid seed corn from the Purdue Botany Department. And so they each got their 3 acres. That was the start of Beck's hybrids for real. Now my grandfather saved open pollinated corn and sold to other farmers even before this started. My father used the motto of, we're not selling you we're selling you a stand of corn, we're not selling you a bag of corn. In other words, making sure that the farmer had a good stand of corn was part of the deal. And so I'm going to fast forward through the years here, and if you come then to 1965, it's about the time I returned from school. It's also about the time that Glenda's and my first son was born, Scott, who's now president of the company. And we're going to fast forward again to 1990. Remember this date, because 1990, I'm going to refer back to it a couple of times. It was kind of a bellwether time in the seed industry. So that's the size of our farm and so forth in 1990. My grandfather started with 40 acres about the time I came back from school in 1965. They'd grown the farm to about 666 acres. So by 1990, keep that in mind. And now we move to today, 2015, 2016, 17. The farm, the business has grown to look like something like this. The family ownership is one of the key things that has always been with our farm. So I would be actually 1, 2, 3, third generation, my son's fourth generation, and now we actually have some of his kids coming back into the company, and so that's the fifth generation. So we've always been a family-owned company. We're not for sale. We'll always be a family-owned company. So that's one of the key things. My wife and I, Glenda, we had 3 children. We have 14 grandchildren, and you can see here several of them with a picture taken a year ago or so. As we move to this 1990, remember I mentioned that was a bellwether time. The reason was that our industry, the seed industry, was during this time, about 1990, starting to consolidate, okay? Most industries in capitalism tend to consolidate. It's just part of capitalism. Best system in the world, but this is a part of it, so learn to live with it. All industries. My dad could have named 80 car companies. Yes, I said 80. And in America, that at one time narrowed down to about half a dozen. Then it tried to go down to 3. Now, you'll see some resemblance in the seed industry here. But when an industry narrows down, at this point in time, about 1990, it's the same time that my son came back. On the left, you'll see Dr. Kevin Kavanaugh, who came to work about that time, just graduated fresh out of school, and really started to develop our research program into what it is today, which we considered in the top 5 research programs in the United States, and actually pretty much in the world too. Most of the research is done here in the United States. Second person there, coming from the left, would be my son, Scott. You probably can tell the gray-haired guy in the middle, okay? And so I'm working amongst all these young bucks here. And so Tom Hooper is over here on the right. And Tom started out in our marketing and sales department. He worked in finance. He's now our director of business. So this is our leadership team. Now this leadership team then manages about 13 other departments. 13 other people manage those departments, and then they report up to us. But this leadership team, the way we use it today, my official title is CEO. I really look to all of these guys who have worked with us over 25 years. And any one of those can make CEO decisions, basically. So we have a very widespread, we all bring a different ability to this company. So as we move on to, I mentioned 1990, and things were consolidating down, and the university, happened to be Purdue at the time, asked us to do a paper on what's the future of all you 300 seed companies that are out there. Other industries are consolidating down. The agricultural chemical industry was consolidating down, banks had consolidated down. Whew. I think you got me. I'm not sure what that was, but everything still seems to be going. So anyway, we did a paper. What's the future of small and medium-sized seed companies in 10 years? Well, in that paper we said, well, probably, this is not hard to predict. A third of us will sell out in those 10 years, of the 300. A third will merge with somebody else, have a job, but not be known by your own name. Only a third would be left by the year 2000, still have your own name on your, what we call bag of seed corn. So as we looked at that, gosh, we had those 3 young bucks along with myself there in 1990, 91, 92, and we said, how will we compete? When you're first faced with adversity, whatever you're doing, you say, what do we do good? What do we do best? And then do more of it. Okay, we'd already somewhat made some of that decision earlier. When I came back to the farm, we had cows and pigs and chickens and dairy and beef. We had it all, okay? And some seed corn. So over the years, we kind of migrated to, hey, we do the seed corn, we like that a little bit better. And so now all that's left there is a few beef cows, about 37 of them, as a matter of fact. So we migrated to doing the things we do best. So in 1990, not only in selling seed corn, we said, that probably isn't good enough. If you had invented the Polaroid camera, anybody old enough to remember the Polaroid camera, as soon as it was gone, what happened to that company? It's gone. So you've got to have a mission that is bigger than just an invention or just selling seed. So we said, what we're really good at, we love to test. We love to show farmers how to agronomically get more out of their crops. What fertilizers should they be using? How much? What population should they plant? What narrow rows or wide rows? And so we really love to do that testing, and we were already doing it. And so we said, we'll double down on that. We will now do lots more testing, and we adopted the statement that we're going to help farmers succeed. I look back at that just a couple years ago. The actual statement is that. It didn't say we're going to help customers succeed. I don't know why we didn't, but it's about the basic philosophy of the company and everybody that has wanted to join us since then in terms of employees and customers is that we're about helping others. We're about helping farmers succeed. And we're also, I hope we're always selling seed, I said, in our state of the company that year. If we're not selling seed, I hope we're helping farmers succeed by selling something else or providing something else to them. If that doesn't work, we'll sell cars, if that helps farmers, okay? So I think everybody got it, all 19 of them, that year, 1992, when we said, this is the direction we're going to go, and we'll see how that works. So now let me take a look quickly at the locations. And the first one you're going to look at over here is the Hawaiian Islands. See, there's where we are right now. We're basically in the Midwest. As Steve mentioned, about 11 Midwestern states here. These are locations that we have facilities at. We're doing production, we're doing processing, we're doing research at. So that's kind of the scope of where we're at. Chicago will be right here. Indianapolis is right here. And we're just north of Indianapolis, about 25 miles. So if we take a quick look at what the good Lord's allowed us to grow, and we do say that because we feel like our company is really blessed. So if you look at this, every 10 years since 1996, it actually goes clear back to 92 and so forth, where we started. But you'll see a tripling of growth in terms of, what is this? This just says by acre. It means the number of units of corn that we sell to go on an acre, and the beans. It doesn't matter if the farmer plants corn, beans, or wheat. That's the 3 major crops. We also sell cover crops. But the 3 major crops there, how many acres of that farmer's land were we on each year? And so it didn't matter if we sold corn or soybeans or whatever. So you see it tripled there during that period. From 2006 to 2016, it again tripled. From 2016 to 2026. If we continue to go at that rate, at that tripling rate, is less than 15% growth per year. But for this past year and for this coming year, we're right at 15% growth on corn and soybeans. Within the area that we sell in, those 11 states, we'd be the 3rd largest seed company. And we don't sell in but about 60% of the market in the U.S. Again, the key thing here is when we're trying to help farmers, our practical farm research. These are all the sites that we have throughout the Midwest that literally are doing the kind of research that the universities used to have, particularly the land-grant universities, used to have funds to do. And they quit doing, they slowed down a lot in the 80s and the 90s, and there's very little practical research done at the universities. That's really probably okay, because the land-grant college was to do things for, they called it the sons of the toil, meaning the middle class sons and daughters of the toil, if we were writing it today, but help them produce the food. Help them produce the food and build the roads. The engineering part of every land-grant college is agriculture and engineering. Help them grow the food, build the railroads, build the buildings, build the infrastructure so that the rest of the economy can flourish. So that's what the land-grant college was about. And so they don't have the money to do this anymore because they're about bigger and better projects. So this practical farm research is actually helping farmers produce more on their land by helping them with agronomic practices. So we have about 6 sites here, over 1,000 acres of ground just totally devoted to just helping them. It's on the internet. If you type in Beck's Hybrids Practical Farm Research, anybody in the States can get that information and use it for free. Again, it's about helping farmers succeed. And I just outlined some of the points over here on this side here that we talked about. There's over 106 studies every year that we're doing there. So why do we want to be in Kauai? Why do we want to be here on this island? It's because our basic philosophy is breeding corn and providing new varieties of corn for farmers that might help them, again, succeed. When I say breeding, that means we call it germplasm. That means you're developing the mama and the papa, okay? The mom and the papa of every hybrid seed corn, because in a hybrid it takes 2. You take the tassel off of the plant. What's the tassel is the male part. The silk is the female part. So that's the reason you see these 4-1 patterns. We're using that one row to be only the male, and then we get rid of him, and we just save the female, okay? And the female has the cross. So now, short lesson in how we produce hybrid seed corn. So that's what we do. So we had been doing that, of course, way over here, Atlanta, Indiana, and these are all the places that we were either accessing germplasm, meaning inbreds from, to make them better, or we might be licensing some of our raw materials, again, basic germplasm, to these places that they can put into their own hybrids and so forth to have more yield. So as you can see, a lot of different places here, and a couple of them were Argentina and Chile down here, and Brazil, and Mexico. What Hawaii provides for us that's better than those places is that it's within the states, therefore you don't have to do across the borders, all those kinds of things, and it's easier to get to. It simply is easier to get to. It's easier to ship seed back and forth. It's expensive on airplanes, but it's fast. And we're about speed. We have to have that seed back so that we can get it in the ground again, turn it around again. When we're trying to make more than 1 cross per year, we can easily make 2 here. We can sometimes get 3. So that's the speed, and basically we are taking away now from a lot of the work we were doing down in here and shifting that over to Kauai. There's the location on the west side. I'm sure some of you, or maybe all of you, have driven by and seen that. But that's where Steve and his crew works out here, and of course a lot of the fields are in the background here in the valley. This picture was taken about a month ago, I believe, Steve, And I think there's about 130 people there. They're not all full-time employees of Steve and our Beck's crew here. There happens to be, for instance, this was done during what we call detasseling season, what we call hand bagging season, where it requires a lot of just labor help to go through and make that cross, the male to the female, on every one of those plants. That's what we have to do here. There's about 35 of our people from Atlanta, Indiana, that we send over here at various times. They stay about 2 weeks at a time. We send them over, and they think it's going to be a vacation. They get a rude awakening. They know what they're coming into, because they're wanting to come over and help, because it's a really busy time for our crew here. And so they're glad to come over and work those long days to get the thing done. So I say it's about 35 of them that ended up coming over here for a 2-week stint. We also have seasonal workers here that Steve and his crew throughout the winter here time and so forth, in addition to our full-time. So again, a little bit more, what are we really about? What do we sell? We provide choices, when we say, for farmers in corn and soybeans. We start with the middle part right here in our breeding, non-GMO. We call that conventional. So we start by breeding it conventional. That's different than many other companies. Some do conventional breeding first. Others do conventional breeding with the trait involved and start with that as being the first thing. We like it this way, where we're just breeding non-GMO to start with, but then we can take that and sell it as non-GMO. We can also move it to organic and provide organic seed there without biotech traits in it. Or we can then take it up to the biotech and put traits in it, which might be providing a waxy trait in it, providing a high amylose trait. I hadn't even mentioned yet the traits like a Roundup Ready trait or a GMO trait, but there's lots of traits that we can upbreed to that are not GMO. So as we then move to I mentioned our Great Harvest brand, which is our organic division. It's a very fast-growing division. Of course, it started pretty small in 2002 and 2004 when we one of the first companies to start producing hybrid seed corn as they could be used for organic production. And so this again started in 2003 is when we started this brand. And so we have a grocery store literally that people can come in, farmers can come in, and they can buy Great Harvest, they can buy organic, they can buy non-GMO, they can buy GMO. Whatever they prefer in whatever market that they're growing corn for. I mentioned earlier about how all industries tend to narrow down to about 6 brands that can be successful within a given market. Cars can drive all across most of the states, same kind of car, so that market's not quite as defined as a seed market where we have different maturities needed from what we call Minnesota clear down to Florida, where we have different rainfall patterns, where we have, a car can drive through the rain and go through the sun and be the same car. But if you don't get any rain, some hybrids won't produce. And so it takes a lot more and different hybrids and varieties. Therefore, you can have more than 6 brands survive if they carve out their market of what they're producing for. So as we looked back here, this slide was done in 2009, pretty much was about the same slide from 1999 until now. These are technology providers. They may also be producing germplasm like we do down here. We don't breed and produce, the biotech type crops that these people are doing. We license them from them, but we don't do the breeding on that part. So we do the germplasm part, but we don't do the traits part. And so we figured that there was going to be several of these people survive and ended up, again, about six of them. in 2009, and we could do better at showing farmers what their products would do than they could do, and we could do it in an unbiased source. I call it almost university type testing, because we don't care who wins here. If we're checking what might be a corn borer trait, we would have it. It's called Yield Guard from Monsanto. It's called Herculex from Dow DuPont, and it's called Agrasure from Syngenta. And so we will test those and give the farmer unbiased report on which one's better, which one works here, which one works over here. And so that's a way that we're helping farmers succeed, by helping test all the stuff that's out there and giving an unbiased report on what's going on. As we fast forward, most industries will try to get down to 3 when they're in the consolidation phase. Again, within a given market, the car market got down to 3, called the Big 3. There was General Motors, Chrysler, and Ford, already back in the 80s and 90s. And then if those Big 3 in any market do not provide what the customer wants, they don't listen to them, that market will try to expand again. And in the States, by and large, customers wanted smaller cars, and they wanted more fuel-efficient cars. The Big 3 didn't listen to them, so here comes the foreign cars. I'm talking about in the 80s and 90s, right? Provided that, and they're here to stay. So that's how capitalism works. It tries to narrow it down. If it gets it too small, then it goes back up. So this is the 3 that we might have ending up. Again, we say pending Department of Justice approval. Bayer Monsanto hasn't been approved yet. The Chem China and Syngenta purchase has been, and the Dow DuPont is in the middle of it moving forward. So that's what we might look like if all those get approved. So how are we different? We're different here because in a public corporation, nothing wrong with it. It's exactly how corporations need to work, exactly how capitalism works. But in a public corporation, which most companies are, the shareholder profits are used to pay dividends to shareholders. It's the right thing to do. In a private company like Beck's, shareholder profit, we have profits too, after all. I mean, we're not non-profit, folks. You don't stay in business too long when you're non-profit, unless you are a non-profit to start with. So we have the same profits. So what do we do with them? Well, we pay cash back to customers that say, I'm going to buy seed from you this year. I'm going to buy an exact amount. I'm going to buy $15,000 worth, $50,000, $200,000. We don't care. You pick the number, but we know we got that check coming. So we call them semi-shareholders, because we know they're putting money into our company, and we know we have that money to go, again, hire employees in Kauai, buy another farm, build another processing plant. We know we have the money. And so that's the way we're slightly different here. Number 2, if you're a public company, most of them in our ag industry spend a fair amount of money to buy back their own stock with the idea of maintaining stock prices. Okay. How's that working? Well, recent history, and you could Google any of these, that's where I got the information. Google Monsanto, Google annual reports, Google Pioneer annual reports. But Monsanto spent from 2014 through 15, they actually ran out of money, went back and got some more. They spent $16 billion, that's with a B, to buy back their own stock so that it wouldn't drop below $90. It was running about $120 at the time. And people said if it got below $90, Monsanto stock, that somebody would buy them. And that's a crazy idea. I mean, I thought that 3, 4, 5 years ago. Turned out it wasn't. When their stock got down low 90s, BASF made a bid on that. It was rejected because Monsanto went back and got some more billions, I don't know how many, and propped the stock up some more. And then started to drop back down. And Bayer then came in and offered $66 billion for Monsanto. It will end up being a little less than that because they're going to have to spin off some companies. So they'll end up paying about $63 billion if it gets approved. So that thing does work. I mean, that's why those companies have to have money to buy back their own stock, because they sold the company to shareholders. We've never sold the company. Huh? Okay. My wife and I and 3 children and their spouses own the company, and I say, that's my shareholders, and she gets a credit card to go buy a dress once in a while, and that's about it, So. But we don't have shareholders outside the company that don't have company interest in making the company grow and helping farmers succeed. So Pioneer spent about $4.5 to $5 billion a year during this period to again prop their stock up and so forth. In the end, what they and Dow is a merger. It's not a buyout, that's a merger to have greater efficiencies. So, what did we do with that same amount of money we had there before I wrap up? We will take that same amount of money they're using to buy back their own stock, and about 6 or 7 years ago, we had a really good crop, and we started sharing that back with farmers. And the next year we couldn't do that, and the following year we said, let's start that up again. Let's do something tangible for them. So. We started helping them give a lease on maybe a tractor, or maybe a new corn planter, or maybe a seed tender which helps put the seed into the planters. Maybe it's a semi-truck to haul their seed. These are pretty big items, but there's quite a bit of money there. And it's money that we don't have to use to buy back our own stock. So we sell products about the same price, but we can just share back. So it becomes my competitors would say it becomes a movement, okay? Because farmers want to help us because we're maybe trying to help them. And so that's the reason you see that growth like that. Good Lord blesses our growth, I tell you, for the last 20 years and then some. So, some areas that we're trying to help farmers succeed. This includes providing value beyond the seed, and the best in just customer relations. That's the hill we own. Our seed salesmen, so to speak, become the trusted advisor because they know a lot about agronomy. They know a lot about helping them in other ways other than just their seed purchases. Why does Beck's want to be in Kauai? It's a dependable location to do research on corn breeding. Very dependable. Best of anywhere. It's easy and fast to move products since it's all in the U.S. And we have learned it's a great Hawaiian people and culture that exactly match the culture that we have throughout our entire company. That's why it's been so successful. We've been so happy with what Steve and the crew are doing here and the welcoming atmosphere that Kauai has given us. And also the chamber. I keep wanting to say Indiana Chamber of Commerce, so that's what I'm always I'm always involved with. But the Kauai Chamber of Commerce, we really appreciate being invited over to talk with you. And if we want to put whoever's going to put the screen up here next, that would work. So you want to start that. While we're collecting any questions that might have been asked and bringing them up here, I think it was Steve or one of them said, why don't we show one of those Why I Farm videos? About 2 years ago, we started doing Why Do Farmers Farm? And we started videoing them and telling their story. Well, we ended up, they got my video, they got my son's video, my other son that runs our farm in Illinois. And so while we're collecting those, we're going to show you the Why I Farm video of what I said why I farm. Okay, what precautions are you taking to ensure minimal damage to the land, the people, and waterways on the west side in regards to pesticide, pesticide, probably usage, I'm not sure. So obviously we're very concerned about the soil everywhere we farm. And here, as much, if not even more so, basically in trying to prevent that from washing off. We really believe in cover crops. We believe in leaving buffers of cover crops around these ditches that you do not plow up. And that is basically one of the biggest things that keeps anything like this from getting into our water supply and so forth. The cover crops, actually, interesting enough, help absorb nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, and hold that for the next crop to use. I didn't used to know that. I used to think we just did cover crops when my dad was using them years and years ago, and we were doing it for soil erosion so that the soil wouldn't wash away. Still does that. But in today's world, these cover crops pick up the nitrogen and the extra nitrogen that might leach on down and hold it until the next crop. You plant the next crop and it decomposes and it's there ready for that next crop. A very interesting thing. We have become the largest seller of cover crops in our Indiana and surrounding state area of anybody, even though we're not the largest seed company, because we believe in limited soil erosion and all those kinds of things. So we're doing the same thing here we're doing at home. One last thing that the biologicals do, or the cover crops do, it helps allow the biological activity in the soil. That's your worms, that's your, I call them the bugs, it's your microorganisms and so forth that help the soil make nutrients available. These cover crops give them a place to live from one crop to another. It's particularly important in our cold areas, in the rest of the states and so forth. So, good enough. We have a microphone in there.
I was raised in the same farmhouse that my grandfather settled in 1901. Ever since I could walk, I was out helping on the farm. As a farm kid, you get to do grown-up things. I was only 5 years old when I drove my first tractor. 1938 Farmall F20. Driving through that field gate the first time, well, I'm sure the grin on my face stretched from ear to ear. Right from the start, my parents taught me good Christian values, good morals, and a good work ethic. Now, farming is a challenge, but it's a challenge that I carry with great pride. As a farmer, you strive to farm better, to be a better caretaker of the land, and to continue providing for your family now and for the generations to come. When spring arrives and the crops are planted, I wait in anticipation for the plants to emerge. In the summer, I love watching the crops grow day in and day out. Even today, there's nothing I love more than riding my dirt bike scouting the fields. Something about being out in nature, it's just something that always has been a part of me. It's the change of the seasons, the growth you see in the fields, the use of new innovations, and knowing that in the end, you helped something become better than it was the year before. In farming, quitting isn't an option. You work long hours, sometimes all night, just to beat that storm that you know is headed your way. But you work hard to get the job done because when you love what you do, it isn't really work. That's why I farm.
I'll take this one last question here, because I know it's getting late. What's Beck's doing to support and grow the next generation of farmers? Pretty easy. In the States, we're heavy supporters of the 4-H, the FFA. We bring kids from school in to see what we do and what the farmers do, so that they learn about it and they say, oh, boy, that's something I want to do. And you say, how would you like to help feed the world? Like, well, that doesn't do with farming, does it? Well, yeah, I'm afraid it does, you know. It's got to do with STEM, it's got to do with studying all the things that you need to study to be involved with creating the next things that we'll need in farming. Here I get, tomorrow I believe, Steve has got some 80 kindergartners out here coming to the plant and saying like, oh, that's corn. Oh, really? Okay. I mean, and talking about what the uses of corn are and so forth. So yes, we're very involved with trying to make sure we have that next generation of farmers. And thank you so much for coming and for being here.